right, so let's get started. On my shared screen, you should see the important thing being that this session is being recorded. Just so everybody's aware of that. If you have any issues, if you're coming in through your browser, if you hit F5, that will refresh your browser, and hopefully any audio issues you have will be taken care of. Early next week, you will get an email that will have these the slides that we're presenting today and the video. So that way, if you want to rewatch it, you have the ability to do so. All right, Renee, you just want to say hello?
Hi, everyone. Happy Friday.
Yay.
Yay.
If you just joined, next month there is no Focus Friday, so the next Focus Friday will be in November. Right. I'll keep sharing and just get started here. Use that one. Okay, so I'm going to start off and talk about freeform reports. So usually when we do a report, it's a columnar report. So you have columns going across the page and rows going down, similar to an Excel spreadsheet. But did you know you can also do freeform reports? Well, yes, you can. But why would you want to do this? Well, freeform reports are used for form letters, invoices, and anytime you want to do a specific placement of data. So here's a sample letter. So this letter is on the bottom one that you can actually read. It's an employee education hours report. It shows it for, in this case, it's the MIS department. It has the employee name, address, job code, some text, and what courses they took. And we're going to go into more details on this because that will be our example. So how do you do this? So within your report, you have several components. You have your verb objects, but we're going to use those a little bit, but mostly we're going to be looking at the headings, footings, subhead, subfoot, and then what you can put in them in order to build your freeform report. We support prefix operators. You can do temporary fields. So if you do a define, you can use the define fields in your output. And then the by phrase is how do you want to see the final sort order? And I'll explain that a little bit later too. So if you're going to add text, so text starting with the heading, double quotes, this is a text line. Just literal text in between two double quotes, and that will show up then on your report as a heading. You can add a field. So if I want to add the country value is and specify the value for a particular country, then I use a spot marker, which is the less than sign, and then the field name that I want to see. So this will show you the value of country at the time the page is generated. So this kind of goes into why you need a by phrase, because if I do by country and I have the same country, the 5 countries normally in our car file on the page 1, the heading will only show you the first value when you reference it. So you want to see the heading country value for each country. So we're going to add a by phrase. We're going to say by country, and then we're going to do a page break. So that way we ensure that each page now has its own country value on it. You can add dialog manager variables. So if even the ones you set yourself, your own dialog manager variables, or any of the systems ones. So in this case, today's date is going to be amper date YYND. So we're going to get 2025 /09/19. Prefix operators, ST is subtotal, CT is cumulative total. So if you want to see total values within your heading or subhead or footing, you can do that. So the real power comes into spot markers for positioning. So if I say less than sign 5, I'm going to start in column 5. If I put +5, it's going to start 5 positions after the previous field. -N goes to the left, so you can go back and forth within the line. +0 is if I want to have multiple formatting on the same line. So if I have a line that has 5 words on it, and I want each word to be a different color, I have to differentiate the text value 1 from text value 2 from text value 3, and that's where the +0 spot marker comes in. And then lastly, for people that have used Focus way back when and WebFOCUS way back when, we were limited to 80 characters. The less than 0x says that this particular line is actually continuing on the next line because you had to split up long lines, and this was our way to do it. So here I have freeform car report model. I have the model value, country/car, which look like they're also coming from the database. And then I have sales in my own column, dealer cost and retail cost. So to do this, I would do a heading, freeform car report, which is my heading. The model, country car, and then the country value/car value using the spot markers. And then I have indent 5 sales, and then in column 15 do dealer cost, column 25 retail. Now I say column 25 and column 15, it's all relative. So if you're doing a proportional font, it might not be exactly in that particular position, but everything will always align up based on these values. So you might have to tweak the numbers a little bit. Because I want sales to go underneath the sales value to underneath the sales heading, it's also indented 5. But notice on the output, it looks like it's shifted over 1. And that's because the text is where you put it, and the alpha values are going to be right justified within the available space of the field. We got dealer cost, retail cost. We're doing PDF output, and then we have some styling. Any questions so far? You can also do a freeform report, and I'm showing in App Studio. Renee, I'm going to ask you, because you work more with Designer. I'm pretty sure you can also do this in Designer. Would that be true?
Designer, yes, you certainly can create most of what you're showing here, right?
Because it's basically just a heading.
Exactly. The only thing that we don't have yet in Designer is like the alignment grid, which can be very important.
Okay.
To support that. Not in the UI yet, but other than that, yes.
Thank you. So this is our main goal we're trying to create. We're trying to create this employee education report by department and then by employee within the department. So I have my text-only heading. I'm using spot markers to identify the fields I want to see now in this section. I have more text and fields combination. The personalized body. So it has Dear Richard and it has his hire date. So it looks like it was done specifically for him. And I have columnar data. So I'm actually combining freeform report with actual normal columnar output. And then we have a footing, that's going to be conditional. All right, so let's look at the top of the report. This is a heading. So we do heading, we got 2 blank lines, employee education report, department, skip 2 lines. We're putting the full name. The full name isn't something that's available in the database because the database for MData has just the first name and last name. So we're going to have to put that together. We have address line 1, 2, and 3, and then dear first name. And for some reason, I have this spot marker -1. So I'm not quite sure what, I'm going back a space to put the comma. So why am I going back a space to put the comma? Because I have first name, and then if you notice, there's 2 spaces after first name. So I want the comma to be directly after the first name. So that's why I'm doing the -1 to back up so that the comma aligns directly after the first name field. What would the advantage of creating a freeform report as compared to a precision report in App Studio? It's the same techniques, but the precision report gives you a little more flexibility and control over the exact placement using the, what was it, the precision placement, I think it was called, um, in order to get things lined up exactly where you want them, which comes in great if you're trying to align data that's going to go in a pre-printed form. So the only advantage is it's a little easier than the precision report, but it's the same flexibility. It's all the same concepts, except the precision report, you have to go into in the styling, and the styling controls more of where the placement is rather than the spot markers. So I hope that answers your question. To get the full name, we're going to concatenate the first name with a space, and then we're going to concatenate that then with the last name. So anybody can guess or think about, why am I doing a hard concatenation and then a soft concatenation for last name, and why I might have the parentheses. So if you remember, a hard concatenation will remove any trailing spaces. So for first name, I'll have Walter space, 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 space. So I need to make sure I remove all those trailing spaces. So I have to do the hard concatenation. But then I want a space directly after my name. And then I want to add the last name. So that's why I'm going to do in parentheses, because parentheses expressions happen first. I'm going to put the space concatenated softly with the last name. Because if I did a hard concatenation, that space would be considered trailing and go away. And then that result will then be concatenated to first name at the end after the first name trailing spaces are removed. Okay. In my styling, I'm just doing my font. My heading, I'm telling it I want to justify center, lines 3 and 4. Lines 3 and 4 would be the employee education report and the department. Our text says our records indicate that your hire date of, that since your hire date, you have taken the following classes. So we're just going to put that into a body field in a define. And it's just going to be one big long string. So our records indicate since your hiring date of, we're going to concatenate to that the result of the function fprint. The fprint is going to convert the hire date, which is an MDY, into an A10. So then it's going to show us the actual date with slashes, which is why the output is A10. And then we're going to concatenate, you have taken the following classes. So again, any type of expression you can do on text, we can do here. For those of you that are in the newer releases, we have a new data type, or relatively new data type, called string. So you could do body/string equals and then the value. And the string is basically an undefined A and B field. So it's variable, but it's not defined by an actual length like the AN is. We're going to add that to our text by putting in, after our heading, indent 5 and put the body, because we want to indent it a little bit. Notice we've also added in the style sheet heading for line 15, which is where we just put the body, wrap equals 7, because we want to wrap the text within 7, and in this case, it's going to be 7 units. So whatever your style sheet is set for the units value, which on a normal page would be 8.5, we're going to wrap the value of body within 7 inches on that page. So for the course and name, this is going to be your standard print course and course name. Notice here, I'm not using a spot marker to put the course code in column 10. So when you're using a verb object and you want a verb object in a particular column or particular position, you're going to use the in and then a value. And this follows most of the same rules as the spot marker values. So you have absolute, where we have here 10, and we also have relative. So I could do -10 or +10. This is our conditional text. Please be advised that you have not taken mandatory class 101. So first we have to determine, did this person ever take this class or not? So we're going to do a define and create a field called course 101 counter. And it's just going to be an integer 3. And we're going to say if course code equals 101, then 1, else 0. In our print area, we're going to add it and say course 101 count within emp ID. So within this person, if they ever took this course or took it multiple times, then the course 101 counter value will be greater than 0. If they never took it, the value will be 0. So I'm going to add a no print at the end of the course 101 count, because I don't want to see it at the end of my course and my course number and my course description. I just want to calculate the value, and then I'm going to add my footing. Please be advised that you have not taken mandatory class 101, file description. That has got all messed up. That should be file. Yeah, that should be file description, and there should be a caret, and then the course description name. All right, and then we're going to make it conditional. So we're going to add the when course 101 count is equal to 0. So this footing will only happen when that condition is met. And then we have our wrap up here, sincerely management, which is just another footing. So notice I'm going to have 2 footings when we get done with it. So here's our full define. Here's the first part of our table. Here is the second part. And then here's our style sheet. Let me just go back. So here we have the first footing, which is conditional, and then the second footing, which will always show. And then here's our output. Okay, so I'm taking this back. So where it says, please be advised you have not taken mandatory class 101. So because we're looking for the one specific class, I just typed it in as text. So class 101, and the description is file, descript, and maintenance. Again, this is what it look like in App Studio, which is different than Precision, but that's another alternative. So any questions? Okay, so let me stop sharing here. And Renee, I'll let you take it away.
Okay, thank you. All right, let me share my screen. Just give me a moment. All right. And you should be seeing the WebFOCUS Hub. Look good?
Yes.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, so after a great presentation regarding freeform reports, I'm going to go delve into Designer on the WebFOCUS side in an area that maybe you might not have too much experience with. So hopefully today's demonstration will give you a little bit more idea as to the features and capabilities that are available to you. Obviously, I can't go every little detail. And I do recognize that some people might say, oh, I wish it would go a little slower, a little faster. The recording is there, hopefully, to make this process as easy as possible. And I do try to give you as much information so that you can go and hit the ground running to be able to test this. I'm excited about this. I mean, this is great stuff, in my opinion. Designer has a lot of capabilities. So we're going to go to plus, create visualizations. Probably most of you are very familiar with that. in terms of past discussions, whether from the virtual user groups or areas I presented during Focus Fridays. So the very first thing when you go into Designer, you have to select the data source. It can be a master file description. It could be a reporting object. I'm going to go into and utilize our legacy sample car file. And normally you could double click, go straight into create visualization, but I'm going to go to prepare and extract data. And if you hover over it, it says, now you can start and design this data tab to further prepare or extract data. There's a good chance that what you have available to you has already been prepared and set up for what you need in order to create whatever visualization that you're looking to develop to meet whatever business requirements that you have. But there's also the potential that you might have to do some additional profiling, extracting, preparing of that data. Maybe join it to another table that's not naturally joined within the synonym itself within the master. So there's the option to prepare and extract data. And if you select this, what this will do is it'll bring you to the data component of Designer versus the visualization, which is what you default to. And that's why that's highlighted. But I'm going to go into prepare, extract data. If you were to go into create visualization, you could just select in the data tab up at the top to be able to go into that section. And what you do is you're seeing the data flow canvas. And if you work with data flows, this probably looks very familiar to you. Don't be intimidated by it. Hopefully today's demonstrations will give you at least a little bit of an idea of what you can do for the future leveraging WebFOCUS. So just as an overview of the canvas and what's available, you have the designer toolbar on the top for the data tab. You can create a new, you can open up an existing, save as, close, pretty straightforward, self-explanatory. There's a lot of options here in the ellipse. View source is probably something very useful. You can see what's being created behind the scenes. A session log, auto run, usually you want to keep that checked. Diagnostics, show override, it can show the app path and override maybe the master that's being selected, etc. And then you can clear undo history if you want. These things, undo, redo, will be available once you start actually, utilizing the data flow and doing development. The run option will become available as well, depending on how and you've prepared your data. And then on the upper right-hand corner for view, there's an option to hide the data panel. And I won't do that just for time purposes, but you can see what's nice is it hover over, it tells you what it's hiding. And then the actual data flow canvas and editor side of it. And you can hide that as well. And there's even a third option, hide reports, because a lot of sample data will be created. And there's a report that'll come down here at the bottom, and you can hide that as well if it displays and then you want additional real estate. You don't want to see that. On the very left-hand side, you have a sidebar, data, functions, run models. The options here might be different. I do have DMSL actually enabled in this environment. But you would spend your time in the data section. But there's functions, run models potentially as well. Certainly you can see here, I could scroll up more so that there's some other options. You can see the application directories that are available from where I came in. You can search for a data source if you want to going across. I could certainly type in car and filter that as well. I already have car because I came in on that. But you can see I have a lot of other data sources that can be available to me to be able to select. Now here we have the data flow canvas, and there's a toolbar right here that has a lot of different options. I'm going to go over to the right-hand side first. There's an aerial view option that kind of gives you a little area view. If you had a lot going on, this might be very useful. The little ellipse button here gives you some view options. Right now, you will always default to the flow view, but if you wanted a model view, you can see I select that and you can see what it looks like, and it gives you the sample. And now that I have a report, well, not here in this one, but you'll see it later on when I do that. I can come back from model view back to flow view, and then I can actually select arrangement. I can compress the vertical lines if I had a lot going on. You can kind of see that as a selection, or I can come back to that arrangement and have a long compressed the way it is by default. These are just like really display options to make it easier. The icons are large, but I can make them small if I want to, but I'll put that back as large. And I kind of skipped over caption there. Gives you the name of the file with the tag, but if I just say I want a tag only, I could do that. And now you can see I have just TO1 instead of with car and TO1, so I'll put that back as name. You could see the difference there. And then there is more options where there's a lot of different things, and we don't have the time to go through these today, but you can take a look, and we do document these as well. I'll probably showcase one like calculate source count option in a little bit. So let me just close that out. Now, if I hover over, the icons that you'll see here will differ depending on the type of file it is, because this is a focus file. Car, it gives that kind of icon as the display. You'll see something different for .rec, something different for comma delimited, etc., so forth, in relational tables. Then there's a little ellipse. Now, if I just click here, you'll get a report at the bottom with sample data. And now when I go to the view, you see here I can hide reports, and I could show it come back if I wanted to see it. I can touch this little ellipse here, and it gives me, what are the properties of this file, the adapter, the application directory, what the synonym name is, etc., so forth, maybe connection, table name, if that's applicable to the data source that you're dealing with. Some of the other options here, sometimes I don't hit the ellipse right exactly. I could sample data, which would give you exactly what if you click the icon as well. What else? Data profiling, that's kind of a nice thing, statistics. And if you click that, it gives you statistics. And remember, CAR is a multi-segment hierarchical structure. So I can go in here, and then if I look at country, maybe seats actually is a better one, right? AT count. But if I go in there and click seats, the drill down, it shows that it has a value of 2, 4, and 5 with the count and what the percentage is. Some nice real information that you could get in terms of profiling there. And there's also additional with counts, etc. You have the ability to add a join, union, source, or select after the SQL. You could change the data sort, copy, but you get the idea of what's available. And here I'll just refresh, and so you can see the sample data again. So up here, there are also different options that are available to you. You can get data from an external source, and you could upload it, etc. I'm not going to do that, but you certainly have that option. You can train data, again, applicable whether or not it's enabled in your environment. And then the things we'll look at today: insert join, insert a union, and even to create a common table expression as a source. And we'll go over that as well. So what's the first thing I want to try in this sample to showcase to you what kind of capabilities are available? A typical business thing would be, maybe I need an extra join to be added. So within IBI SAMP, there is also a world file that has populations, continent, country, and population. And it has additional countries of Ireland and Korea. So let's say I want to add that. Now, how do I join this? There's 4 different ways you can join it within the data tab component and for the data flow. I could just, if I want to take world and drag it onto the canvas, and it'll do an automatic join. And let me undo that, because another option is I could take world and I can go on top of the source that I want. And if I hover over, I'll see a bubble for join or union. And if I put it on the join bubble, it'll do a join. Another option is that I can actually come up here and say insert join. Now, if I do this option, you actually get a lot more. It shows you a lot of the other synonyms that are out there and potentially where you could join on with that field, potentially, and other fields that potentially could be utilized for joins. But you can see world is at the bottom with a 90% confidence rate of country equal country. I could select that, say OK, and I can also establish my join that way. If I undo that, the 4th option that's available to me is in the little ellipse that I showed you before in the Add Plus. I could do join, source via join, and you get the same kind of dialogue that you did with the icon for the insert join. And I could go down, and I know there's a lot of information here, but it really is thinking about, you could just drag it on the canvas and or do it through the bubble or through the icon, or right-click the little ellipse and selecting it this way. But you do see other options that might be available to you that you might want to join. So world, I'll say OK. And now I have a join. And you can kind of see down here the output with CAR and the countries that matched up and the populations that are coming from the world file. That's the join to file. You can also see here now we have a join, right? icon in the data flow with a Venn diagram kind of showing us. And if we hover over it, it'll actually show us we're doing an inner join. The Venn is demonstrating in the image. And that we're joining country in car to country in world, TO1 and TO2 files. And then this is really our kind of output. Think of that you could potentially adjust from that join. So what can we do? Well, we can come in here. If we look at the little ellipse, you can edit the link. You can test the join, which is the output that you see on the bottom. You can add other sources. You can actually swap the data sources. So car and world can swap places with each other. Delete. There's more data profiling you can do on this. You can rename the join. So those are options. But mostly what you're going to spend your time in is edit link. So let's go into edit link. And there's a lot of information on this page. Don't expect you to walk away with having a complete understanding and knowledge of everything, but it really is designed to be as user-friendly and intuitive as possible. And you can kind of see here on the left-hand side with this section, right? This is really how you're establishing your join. You could do a multiple by checking this. There's some things here to give you kind of display options, but I find it's really not necessary for most of what you would do. And I think the key thing here is what type of join do you want? Do you want an inner? You can hover and it'll tell you left outer, what that will result in, what a right outer join is, and then what a full outer. And you can see from the little bin images too what you're looking at. Then down below is the actual join clause. It actually adds the join here that you selected, right? And if there's not one available when you do a join, you won't see a join here, but there is a suggestions option. You can see if there is anything there. Probably if there's no join established, and that means there was no suggestions, but there is obviously in this case, and it's just the one in this case. And then you could click it again if you don't want to see those suggestions. There's a way where you could do an expression if you wanted to, and you could build an expression, and we will see that in a little bit. And you could add another. Maybe I need to join multiple fields, so I could do a plus here, and then I can actually, select fields from the host and the cross-reference structure to be able to join on. And then you could edit if you want, or I'm going to delete this condition because I don't need that country to country for car and world is sufficient. You can check here on the middle to the side is really showing you the join itself. I can select the sample data tab and you can see what kind of the output is. This is giving you a profiler about left, right, and what the results are, what's excluded, included. There can be some subtleties here depending on the file types that you're joining on, like this is car with a multi-hierarchical structure. It can be a little bit different, and I'll showcase. And that's kind of why I like to show this just as a sample. It gives me some opportunity to demonstrate. So I could do left outer, and you can kind of see here the profiling is not kind of giving me what I want. But if I do right outer, I do see it seems to think that Ireland and Korea will display as well. So that kind of looks like what I want for this initial go around. And then I can click on the very bottom. I could say OK to implement the change I just made. Once I click OK, you'll see now that the join icon has a different Venn diagram, and you can hover over it and see it says right outer for that join. Now, what else is options to me? Well, right now I want to create a permanent file. So if I want to do that in the SQL select thing, there's an edit option. We'll kind of see a little bit of this, and you'll see some other statements. But a key thing down here is I haven't really done anything complicated yet. It's really a join between these files. So it's kind of like, in a way, you can think of it as what we call a simple join. There's really nothing that has to be kind of manipulated beyond like a join statement, right? But I want to create an extract. So this is how I would accomplish it. In the SQL, select columns, right? The little ellipse properties. Select stage permanent extract target. I'm going to select that. And here's a name it comes up with. Where do I want this file to go? Well, I could select, and for my purposes, although you could probably see I already had some from testing earlier, I'm going to select base app anyway. And then notice it updated the data file location. It kind of knew I had something out there, so it updated the data file name too. What kind of type of file do I want to deal with? I can click here and I can say DATREC or some other options. And then if I had some configured adapters, which I don't because it's a very vanilla environment, I could have selected potentially an adapter, assuming I have the capability of writing out to that adapted database that's selected. But I'm going to select DATREC. And now you can see here it's going to be car extract. I could change that as well, but I'll leave it. just to showcase. It's going to give me a message saying, hey, you already have something there called base app car extract. Do you want to replace it? I'm going to say yes. Okay, now it's a little icon over here. You can see this is the car extract that's coming out. That's going to be located in base app. That's what it's symbolizing. And it's saying I really need to run this now to ensure that it gets created. And when I do that, I actually get output at the bottom that shows me, hey, it created 18 records in that file. And you can see where it's being written into POCUS and everything like that. So kind of just giving you an idea of what's happening. So I joined car and world together. I did a write outer join, and I created this car extract permanent in base app. And I know this is not always what you would want to do, but again, this is for demonstration purposes. So now what I can do is I can go back to the visualization side of things, right? So what do I want to do here? Well, right now here, I just want to actually, you know, create a little sample file. Maybe let's see, what do I want to do? I'll do it as a report just for something here. And you can see car extract, dimensions and measures. You can see it respected that and created an extract for me. And then let's put country. And I'll put the other country here, where you can see it says, and I'm hovering over so that you can see it at country 1, right, as the actual name. So there's the 2 countries. And then let's just put like retail cost and then scroll down because population came from world, the cost reference file. And you can see already that this didn't really give me what I wanted. And it's really because of the nature of a focus database. So I just kind of wanted to showcase this real quick. I could save this. And let's, you know, we'll call it visualization 1 and just save that. And I'm going to close this out. And I'm going to come into that, the text editor, just to showcase it. Let's keep everything that I have here. And let's, oops, sorry. Kind of hit the wrong button there. Set all equal pass. And let me just run that. And you can see I do see the missing records, right, for Ireland and Korea with the population coming from the world file. So it actually gave me what I wanted. I really needed set all equal pass. All is not a part of the set command option in Designer, but I kind of wanted to showcase that. But again, I did this deliberately for demonstration purposes because it gives me an opportunity to just show you something else. So I'm going to close this out. I'm not going to save it, right? And I'm going to come back in and edit within Designer again, right? So I left, showed you that, came back. It's still going to respect and have that car extract that I created by joining those 2 files together. And I certainly could show you in probably a good idea just to see with base app. Kind of you could see the car extract too, and the car extract that was just updated and everything. So you can see it actually created in base app. Okay, so let me come back here to the data part. So what else could I do here? And I could change this a little bit so that you can actually see the results that you want without having to go set all equal pass. So what could I do is I can actually edit the join. I can say, you know what, give me a full outer. Might not be what you want in all cases, but again, demonstration just for the capabilities that are available to you. I'm going to select full outer. I'm going to say okay. But now my extract does need to be updated, right? So I do need to run this. And now I can actually see in the final table, there's actually additional rows that you can see instead of 18, it says 20. That's a very good sign. And I can come back and now it's going to update and actually show me those missing records, which is kind of very cool. Again, this is just for demonstration purposes, but I wanted to be clear on how easy it is to go from having a visualization and going through the data tab and joining some files together, maybe creating a permanent extract. That might not always be what you want, but, and also how you have the ability to change the different join types. And certainly, like I said, you can say multiple and do check if you need it not to be a unique join, et cetera, so forth. So that's kind of my first demo. And, you know, certainly could save this if I want to and close it out. So let's come back and let's go and create a second demo. And I'm going to try to get through 4 today if possible. So create visualization. And I'm going to come in, I'm going to come into IBI SAMP again. I'm sorry, the image is just a touch slower today than normal. Could be something going on. And in IBI SAMP, this time I'm going to pick GG sales for something different. And I'm going to go to prepare extract data. And now from what you just learned, right, I'm going to take GG stores. I'm going to come right over here and I'm going to do a join. I put it over and now it's joined together. Okay. Well, how is that join being established? And by the way, let me just see. Right now we have only a permanent extract option available. I kind of want to stress that. And I also wanted to just see with the view source that you have here, you can kind of see there's the join that kind of took place, like internally, from what you could see, at least at the moment for what I have. And you can see hovering over, you can see, right, it's doing it in a join, joining the store IDs from the two files, GG sales and GG stores. Here I can come in, I can edit the link, and I could see I have the store ID. Is there any other suggestions from me? No. That looks good. It kind of is pretty good just as doing that, not having done anything else, right? I'll cancel out. I'm not going to make any changes to this join. And let me just see if I were to go to a visualization. Let me do that. And let's pick out, now you can see we're doing a join, right? Because you see sales, but here's the stores file. I have to expand that in order because what I really wanted to was to get the store's name, the store name. And then maybe do unit sales, dollar sales, budget units, budget dollars. I did a join between the two files. I didn't create a permanent extract. It's just a straight join, a simple join, nothing else being done. Okay, but I kind of wanted a little bit more and also to showcase, again, features and what's available. So what if I took this and I went to select columns and I do, and there's a whole bunch of options here, right? But I'm going to pick edit, and that's most of the time what you would spend or doing like staging a permanent file. So let's just edit. Brings you into an editor. There's a lot of information here, but here is kind of the columns and the filters that you could potentially build with the data output that's coming from that join. And let me do something simple as take the T02 contact field, right, that's coming from the GG stores. And I'm actually going to delete that field. That's all I'm going to do for now. Click OK. Now you can see here it's saying, wait, you modified, you did something. What did you do? And it's letting me know I really am going to need to run this. Why? But now you can see there's another option here, create session extract, right? That's going to create info cache, actually a temporary file. And if you come up here to the view source, you'll kind of see things change, right? It's not a join anymore. It's like a SQL select that's pulling out and joining those files together. Again, you don't have to understand all of this, but if you do, it does help, I think. But then later on, you can see that it does that. But again, this is a session log. It helps if you do the view source once I go back to the visualization side of things. But I kind of want to mention it from here, from this perspective. So I could do it from here too, right? Create a session extract. Here I can see the output. You can see 4,317 records and lines. Let me come back to the visualization. Now you're going to see the visualization got updated. I can fix this and just put stack. But notice it cleared out all the buckets and everything. And it kind of needed to do that because we changed things around. We didn't have that join in effect anymore. Now it's a temporary file in FOCUS that's been generated. So, okay, can I still build what I need to build? Sure. Store name. And then let's do, but I didn't have to have that field anymore. Maybe I wanted to get rid of some fields. Again, it's a simplistic example, but it gives you the idea of now you can see the changes where I just had a join. And now because I made a change really into the output itself, it's not a simple join anymore. There's more involved behind the scenes. And therefore, it really is a temporary file that's being created on in FOCUS, right, to be picked up. Well, let's go a little bit step further on this so I can show you something else. So I'm coming back to the data tab. I want to edit the link here. And definitely inner is fine. But if I look at my sample data, just to look at the data, and I go across, right, I see for GG stores, and there's also in GG sales, there's a state field, right? And maybe I don't want New York to be part of this. I could take care of it here. Now, certainly you could take care of it in the request as well, but I want to do it here. And so I have that capability. I can go to expression and click expression. And then if right here it defaults to functions, but if you click the little ellipse up here, you can get the columns ordered by folders. And then from the T01, right, I want state. And then I could say not equal. You can see I hover over that, click that, and then space, and then say New York. So that's the actual value. I can go down here, I could validate it. Tells me, yeah, it looks good from what it sees. I could say okay. And now you'll see that I actually have a second expression created here. So it's store ID equal to store ID as part of the join, but also state where it's not equal to New York. Notice that now the join profile is not available because we really have a very customized join here, but the sample data is still available to you, that tab. And you can see now I don't see New York here, the GG cell state, or if I scroll over to GG source state. So I'm going to click OK. I want to keep that change, but that also means I need to rerun this. And when I run it, now you'll see I actually do have less records and lines. Why? Because it's filtering out those states of New York from the request output. Now I can come back to the visualization. And notice it kind of kept things the way they are because the change wasn't really changing the structure. It was just adding on to that filter and everything. So it kind of actually showcased and was able to retain it. But I certainly could come and say, you know what, I want to change this to a report. Maybe make it all of the data, and maybe not just store name, but let me show store state, the state as well as the store name. And you can see that I have 11 records, but like, you know, maybe let's detail this so that you can see the 3,957 records. And none of them will be New York. Obviously, I'm not going to showcase that, but you get the idea. Again, it's to demonstrate the capabilities that are available. So certainly if I wanted to, I could save this, and that could be our second visualization. And hopefully so far you've seen some kind of cool things that are available just from some simple demonstrations. All right, so let's close that one out. And now I kind of want to showcase union. I have enough time, I think, to showcase that as well. So let's go into another create visualization. And this I'm going to use from our design, our data science tutorial. There's loans filed in there, and that's kind of what I showcase here. So I'm going to go into DS app is where I put those files, and I'm going to select loans, which has 10,000 records in it, and I'll prepare that. And then I want to take, which is loans new, which just has 50 records, which are kind of duplicate within the 10,000. But I'm doing this deliberately to showcase a union. Now, what I could do for union is I certainly can come over here, and I can insert the union that way. You can see I hover over that, kind of like where I did insert join. Or I could just take loans new, right? And I can just drag it on top of loans and do union this time. Now you can see union is up here. And what's interesting is, right, notice that you see the different icon because it's comma, delimit, CSV, kind of tabs file. So it's letting you know that. And then I'm going to come over here to the little ellipse on the right because I just wanted to showcase that more option here, calculate source count, just to kind of give you an idea of one way you could figure out what the counts are. Now, when I hover over, it tells me that has 10,000 rows, and it tells me loans new has 50 rows. You know, and then I could come back if I want to, and I certainly could disable that feature, right? But you get the idea. Now it has a union option here, and like just with the join, there is a union editor, right? And it's letting you know, hey, there's some missing matches. So let me show you in the union editor what that's happening. So between the two files, between loans and loans new, it found a lot of common fields except for this one. And that's why that's in red, and it's telling you it's a validation error because you can't really union up them based on the columns because of that one. You could have multiple ones. Maybe you need to get rid of a few fields. If you have a lot, you can check this box up here, show missing invalid matches. So it only shows that one. And then I can check that box and say, you know what, I don't need that. I'm actually going to come over here and delete the selected item. Now I don't have any invalid and missing matches. So I can uncheck this now. And this all looks good. I can see loan ID to loan ID, issue date to issue date, etc. So that looks good. Then up here, you could do preview if you want. Again, that's to delete if you need to. There's other options here. But here's the key here when you're in the union editor. This gives you the capability of generating the type of output that you're really looking for, right? In terms of whether it's a union, an exception, an intersect. So a union, what it does is it combines, right, the result sets from two or more selects. The except, right, results from the first set, not in the second set. And then the intersect is the common records from both. And kind of we try to help you out, because if you hover over, it kind of tells you that. So it gives you an idea so you understand what you're selecting, right? So I have union all, including duplicates. That's actually what I want. And I'm going to save that. And now I can actually run this. And you'll see that the records in the table are 10,050 and the lines are 10,050. Looks very good for me from that perspective. Let's go to a visualization side. And then what I want to do is I want to actually do this as a report. And let's do loan ID with rows. That's right. That's a sort field with issue date, final date. And then I am actually going to put loan ID in the summaries. And what I'll do is I'll do a count on that. Right click, aggregate, and count. Most of them are just going to be one, except those that are duplicate. I could change the live data, would never normally recommend it, but for demonstration purposes, I'm going to do it. Apply. And now you'll see I have 10,000 records, right? But where are the duplicates, right? So, and do they exist? Well, how can I tell that? Well, I could take my count on loan ID, drag that to the filters bucket, right, for a static filter. And notice it's actually even smart enough for aggregation count to say equal to 2, up 1 to 2 is the scale. So it's recognizing that there's potentially values that actually have count of 2. And I'm actually going to save that because that's the ones I want to. I want to see where the count equals 2, where I had the duplicates. Save it. And now you'll notice I'll have with all data 50 records with the count of 2. It's exactly what I was expecting based on the loan and the loans new with the 50 duplicates in from loans new file in the loans file, union them together. So let me come back now to the data component. Let me go to the union editor and let me change this to say exclude the duplicates. Save it. Now run it. And now I can see while I had 10,050 records, now it only has 10,000, right? Because those duplicates, right, are not going to be there. And now when I go back to the visualization tab, you're going to see that I have no data. And then even if I edit the filter that I created, it no longer recognizes, it says 2 is out of range. Could still be in the full set because I actually have all the data in it, but it's letting me know 1 is the only thing there, really. And if I change it to 1, then of course, you'll see that I actually have 10,000 records, but I don't have the duplicates anymore. Again, that's a basic introduction into doing with just a union, but you get the idea of the feature that gives you a lot of capability just from trying to do that. Then my last demonstration, and I know I'm giving you a lot of information, but again, this is so that you have much going forward. I closed it out, didn't save it, but that's fine. Plus, create visualization. And now I'm actually going to come in, I'm going to select world this time, because I want to show you a very cool feature not many people are aware of, but it's extremely powerful. And I'm going to go to IBI SAMP and scroll down, and I'm going to select world. And then if I scroll up here, you'll see an option here where I can right-click common table expression and say add, or I can select this icon to create a new table expression as a source. So what is this? Adding a common table expression with a data flow, right? It allows you to create a query and hold the output in memory. So it's available for the flow that's created in, and it can actually be reused multiple times. So it's not a file that's created in FOCUS and everything. It really isn't. And it can be utilized in multiple times in areas within the data flow in multiple different areas. Maybe I'm joining it here and then I'm joining it somewhere else, etc., or maybe unioning it. It's up to you, but just to be aware of what the capability is. So it's an important feature to be aware of, right? So I right-clicked on common table expression add, or I could do the icon here. Then you have to pick what is the source for this common table expression. Well, I'm going to go to retail demo. This is WF Retail Lite. and I'm going to go to the dimensions. And I'm going to select, and again, this is kind of a silly example, but it's good for demonstration purposes. I'm going to come in, let me see if I can find this. There it was, and I missed it. Okay, WF Retail Geography, and say okay. Now it has WF Retail Geography. Right now you don't see world anymore. Why? Because we're working on creating this table from this common table expression that we can utilize however we need to and wish to use it. So what can I do here? I can come in, I can edit, and I can say, well, you know what? What I really want from WF Retail Geography is I want the Ireland population. Now, maybe, again, it could be much more complicated, but it showcases just some features you can do. So I look for the field country here. That's in the WF Retail Geography. Right-click that, and then I can add to filter. Creates a little filter box there, and I'm going to select Ireland. Great, gave me what I wanted. If I scroll over, I'll be able to see Ireland as the country. Now, I already know with world that Ireland is in uppercase, so I need to just do a touch more work. So what else can I do? I can come back to country, right-click, and I can say, add a new expression, apply a function. I can look at and find, I know that there's an upper function. Double-click that in. And it'll give a title of country upper name, country name upper, the format, and where it's pulling it in. It's pulling in from the field country because that's where I selected this on when I said to apply a function, new expression, apply function. I'm just going to say okay. So now it's going to have this country upper field, and if I scroll over, you'll see I have country, that's the original field, and then country upper with uppercase Ireland. I'm going to click OK. And then I'm going to click OK for the expression. And now I'm back, and I have this common table expression that's actually created here, which I can right-click, and I can rename to something else. Like, you know, WF Retail Geo underscore, you know, Ireland. Again, simplistic example, but you get the idea. So give it a name that means something. And now I can actually take that, and I can actually join that to my world file. Now, right here, it's coming over and saying it doesn't know what to join to in this scenario. So I'm definitely going to have to go into the editor. And now you can see that there is no join here. It's asking me, do I have any suggestions? No, because it probably would have put that in place. But then I can select what I need to. So I want to select country from the world table. And then from my common table expression file that I created, I want to select country upper. Now you can see it found Ireland here. I can leave it as inner. I don't have to really do anything else. You can see the sample data as well, right? And I can say, okay. And it really can be as simple as that. Now I do still need to run it. You can kind of see there, I have my records, what came out from WF Retail, from the common table expression and everything, and come on through. And then I can go to visualization. So what do I want to do for this visualization? I want to do a simple report. And you can see here, I have the world table right here. I have the first country. Let me put that in there. Let me scroll through. And here's the country, right? That was from the common table expression. You could see that, right? There it has the lowercase there, Ireland, mixed case, I should say, Ireland. Here's the population, right, from the world file. And then I wanted to also see the population. That's why I did this drawing, the country population as well. And so here, you can see the populations are populated from world, right, because it has here, but I'm getting it from the file, that common table expression that I joined to, I'm getting that country population as well. And you can see the output when I actually run it. Again, the key thing to understand here is that the common table expression is truly being run in memory. The only thing that's extracted out as a temporary file is the world, is the final extract. And you can kind of see that here if we come into FOCUS. I know there's a lot of files here and everything like that. I'd have to come back and run it to see which one. It's probably around this one. But you can see it's only world. It's not that WF Retail Geo _ Ireland, because that truly is something that's being created in memory. And again, if I did some other joins and then later I needed that file for something else, again, I know I made a very simplistic example. I do recognize that. But the whole point is, again, to showcase the feature so that you can understand what's available to you that you can leverage. And the common table expression. So I kind of demonstrated how you could do joins with the data tab, how you can absolutely do unions, exceptions, intersects that way. I demonstrated how you can have a temporary file, right? Create session abstract. It has to be more than just a simple join. And then how you can even create something that's strictly in memory, a common table expression that you can leverage within that data flow multiple times. That's not created in the FOCUS side of things. So hopefully today's demonstration gives you a lot of good insight, and that you can kind of go, if you're dealing with WebFOCUS, and be able to do some additional data prep if that's required, depending on the scenario. I'll close that out. Any questions? Anything follow up on?
Renee, there's a question: would the common table expressions be similar in concept to hold files in App Studio?
A little different, because it's truly in memory. Think about it this way. Anytime you're creating a hold, where is the hold going, right? That you're creating. Are you creating a permanent hold? Then that would be the permanent extract. If you're just creating an extract, like that session extract, then that's truly a temporary file that's in FOCUS. But if you just, this is really, it's special and kind of unique because it's truly in memory and can be utilized multiple times anywhere within the request that you're building in terms of the data side. Hopefully that answers the question.
Okay, thank you. That was the only question.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I hand it back off to you, Walter.
Okay. Share. Okay. So that concludes the main part of the Focus Friday before we go and dive into the mainframe section. Again, thank you for everyone for coming. If you're not staying, please remember to fill out your evaluations, which will pop up as you leave the session. For those of you on the mainframe, whether it's Focus or WebFOCUS, stick around. We're going to give a quick chat about some common Abends in the mainframe world. Mostly it's just going to be, if you get this is what you might be able to do to fix it. And in some cases, what you can't fix it yourself, so you need to open a ticket and what to present. John, see you Summit. Okay, we'll give everybody a chance to clear out if they're clearing out. Specifically for the mainframe group, if you want something specific on the mainframe and you're going to Summit, be sure to request your own session. Okay, this is going to be pretty quick. It's basically a list of what the admin codes are and what they mean and what you can hopefully do to resolve them. So to start off, if your job Abends and you see an S222 Abend in the code, the 222 indicates that somebody canceled your job. So nothing happened to the job itself other than there was human interaction and somebody went in and canceled it. Now you might want to know who canceled it. So you can reach out to your systems person, and they can look through the job logs and identify who did cancel that job and let you know who it was. Why is this important? We've had cases where customers were running sync jobs, the Focus SU, and those jobs stopped, and they stopped on an admin 222, and the result was that their Focus database got corrupted. So the sync machine controls the access and updates to your Focus database, allowing multiple people to go in and make updates. So if that sync goes down in the middle of an update, you could have problems. The 322, again, this is probably something you're going to see with a sync machine. You might see it if you're running MSO. The 322 is a time limit. If you exceed the time limit for your job, now when you submit the job, you can put a time limit on the job card, time equals. I want to say for MSO, we recommend, I don't remember if it's 4880 or 3660, but basically a 24-hour period to make sure that the session is always going to be up and not canceled because of a time situation. The B37 is a space issue. So if you see an SB37, it means that your output data set, this normally happens on write, it ran out of space. So you tried to put in space, you didn't have enough. So the solution here would be then to increase the space. The D37 is also a data set issue dealing with space. But this one, the D37, means that your primary or secondary allocation was exceeded and there's no more volumes that be allocated. So you might want to check with your systems people. Maybe they have SMS rules in place that are only allowing you to write on certain dispatch or in certain management classes. And maybe they can do something to help resolve that. And then E37 indicates a multi-volume data set exceeds the maximum number of volumes. So if you allocated two volumes in your multi-volume data set, but you needed 3, well, then you're going to get an E37 because you weren't able to get that third one because you didn't even ask for it. 213 I put in because I've seen that a lot. A 213 has to do with your data set. So the most common case of a 213 that I've seen is a conflict with the DCB information. So your file has your DCB information, a fixed block, an LRECL, but when you're trying to read it, you're trying to read it with a different LRECL, or you're trying to read it as a different record format. So in that case, you could get a 213. So you just need to make sure then that your DCB information is matched with physical data set shows. The 213 has several different scenarios, which I didn't go into all of them. But basically, another situation that we've had is when you try to read a file that's a VSAM file, but using a different access method than VSAM, that could also trigger a 213. All right, so now the trickier ones. So a SOC 4 is probably the most common admin code. A SOC 4 is a protection exception, and it basically means that we're trying to access something that we don't have access to, or we went out of bounds. If you have the situation and you run into a case where you put a record limit in your table request, and you do get output because you don't have as many records at that point in time, try increasing the region size. So if you're, and I say region size for 31-bit or mem limit size for 64-bit, the region size, you can make like 0.0M, and then that will give you the maximum that your system will allow you to have. Mem limit, again, is for 64 bits. So if you're in 7709 or higher, you would want to make sure you have a mem limit. Recommended setting, if try 10 gig or 12 gig, try those first and see if it happens to help. I have may help, may is in capitals because it probably won't. And if it doesn't, then you should open a support ticket, send us the full JES log, the masters, and any procedures that you were running so that we can take a look and hopefully see what's going on. The next one is a SOC 1, an operation exception. We just had a customer have this, and basically the program was trying to branch off into someplace that didn't exist. So this is not something that you can try to fix on your own. So this one definitely needs a support ticket. So open the support ticket, give us the full JES log, again, along with the reference WebFOCUS exec and masters. And I believe, oh, then I decided to give you a couple of focus error messages. So FOC 227 basically says I couldn't find a procedure. So for mainframe focus, you need to make sure that the procedure is in one of the data sets that's concatenated to the DB FocExec. If you're using apps in mainframe focus, you need to make sure that the procedure is somewhere in the path that is identified by your app path. Folk 205 is the same thing, but for masters, for synonyms. And notice that I have %1 in the messages. That means we will tell you which procedure or which master we couldn't find. And then the last one I have is a folk 002. The field name is not recognized. The most common cause of field name not recognized is a spelling issue. You spelled the field name wrong. So just verify the spelling of the field name. And again, it will tell you the field name or what it sees as the field name. And if it's spelled correctly, then just make sure that it truly does exist in the master. And if any of those, if you can't resolve it using any of these solutions, feel free to open the case and we will take a look and give you a suggestion. I think that's it. But any questions? Oh, I didn't change my last slide title. So any questions about the common Abends? Any questions about anything at all relating to focus? All right. Well, hopefully I'll see you at Summit. And if not, I'll see you hopefully in November. Again, don't forget to fill out the evaluation.